Hello, Pete here from Not Just a Geek. Today I wanted to introduce the changes we've been making to our home heating system, how we are evaluating these changes, and our experience after the first few months with them. On screen you'll see a model of our house, and over the last 4 years we've been trialling far-infrared heating in a subset of the house, specifically our wet rooms, the bathroom, the cloakroom, the kitchen, and our home office. We've been impressed with their responsiveness, running costs, and have decided to extend them to the rest of the house. So first, a quick overview of far-infrared heating for those who aren't familiar. There are 3 ways heat is usually distributed. Conduction, which is simply when something comes into physical contact with another thing of a different temperature. Imagine you touch a hot cup. Convection, where a fluid or gas distributes heat around a space due to how the density of the fluid changes when it's warmed. You could think of this in the way that water in a saucepan is heated, for example. So the water at the bottom becomes warm. Once it's warm, it becomes less dense, floats to the top, and this pulls cooler water into the bottom so it can be heated, and eventually the whole pan reaches a consistent temperature. Or radiated through infrared light. And this is how all the heat from the sun reaches the earth, as it's the only one that can work in a vacuum. Most modern heating systems, at least in the UK, work with convection. You have a radiator which gets hot, that heats the air, the warm air moves up which causes cooler air to be pulled towards the radiator, and it cycles like this until all the air in the room is warmed. And this warm air then through conduction heats up the surrounding fabric of the room, so the walls, the furniture, and the people. If you're not familiar with far infrared, it differs from normal heating systems by radiating heat through infrared light at individuals and objects. These objects in turn heat the surrounding air, and eventually you reach the same end state. The difference is the order in which items are heated. A consequence of heating objects and people first is that you can feel warm if you're stood in front of the emitted infrared radiation, even if the air temperature is cold. So, as a practical example, last winter I went into my office for an evening video conference when the room temperature was about 10 degrees. The automation system clicked the heater on, and within a few minutes I was comfortable in just a t-shirt. The air temperature was still under 12 degrees, and yet I was happy with that. And you'll have experienced the same kind of comfort when in direct sunlight on a bright but cool day. And this is important. So in the context of energy usage, the amount of energy required to heat a room is related directly to its heat loss. So heat loss is the number of watts required to change the temperature or to maintain the temperature per degree difference between the target indoor temperature and the external temperature. So if I'm heating to 12 degrees and it's 7 degrees outside, I'm only having to compensate for 5-degree change, whereas if I'm targeting 18 or 20 degrees, I obviously need a much larger differential and more energy. Such an approach offers a few advantages. It's incredibly responsive and enables comfort to be achieved quickly. The Health and Safety Executive in the UK identified radiant heat as the biggest contributor to comfort, though to be fair they're looking at it from the perspective of excess radiant heat for people who are in front of furnaces and so on. But the same is true in terms of comfort when there's not enough radiant heat. Even with the radiator on your room and the air being heated up, you probably won't feel properly comfortable until the walls have heated up to the same temperature. A responsive heating system allows energy savings, since heaters need only be on when rooms are occupied, and generally people will feel comfortable at cooler temperatures with radiant heating, as the fabric of the building continues to radiate heat at you once the thermal mass has been warmed. Additionally, heating the fabric of the building first has some benefits. It reduces the risk of condensation and mould. We noticed this ourselves when we installed far infrared in our bathroom in 2018. When we bought the house, we found that mould would regularly form on the joint between the shower tiles and the ceiling, and after installing infrared heating, this problem has disappeared since the surface temperature is high enough that condensation is a rarity. All these factors together led to us deciding to overhaul the energy system in our house. We had a 5.4 kilowatt solar array installed, along with a small battery storage solution. We fitted Herschel far infrared heating panels throughout the house. We had the gas disconnected, and we committed to going electric. So, the intention is to post further videos describing how the system is functioning. Specifically, I'm going to look at the comfort, are people in my household comfortable? What temperatures do we need the panels to heat to for people to be happy at different activities? Our energy usage, how does it compare with the previous gas central heating? Is it as efficient as it claims it should be? What the running costs are like. Electricity is roughly 3 times the price of gas where we live, so we're assuming that our bill will go up. But maybe it will be offset by not paying a standing charge for gas and through the solar stuff. And emissions. How green is the electricity we're using, and do changes in energy usage help with a reduction in total emissions? We intended to analyse this stuff from the very beginning, so when we installed the solution, we had it with ways of collecting data. We've integrated the far infrared panels into Home Assistant, which is a home automation system, using Shelly Pro 4PM control units. These are 4-channel relays controllable over either Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and DIN rail mounted, and we've had these installed in a sub-consumer unit of the house by a local electrician. These controllers allow remote controlling the state of the heaters, as well as recording power and energy used by the heaters. And where that hasn't been practical, we've used single-channel outlet mounted Shelly 1PM modules. To provide accurate temperature control, we're using various different wireless sensors in combination with the Shelly relays to create virtual thermostats in Home Assistant. Home Assistant is an open source home automation system which has proven to be reliable in our experience and easy to configure. By using this solution, we will be able to easily identify breakdown of energy source for heating, which is important in determining the costs of heating, contrast the energy required for heating against outdoor temperatures, and experiment with different control schemes. I hope you found this background interesting, and if you'd like to follow the series to see how it progresses, then please subscribe to get updates. The first video detailing our experiences in October and November should be live now.